Welcome everyone to the third assembly on mental health and well-being. Today we're going to learn about training the mind and basically what is mindfulness and some of the scientific benefits behind practicing it. So in our last assembly we learned about the ways in which your mind can take over and become overly negative in its thoughts. We examined the different kinds of negative thinking patterns and the different triggers that they can have. So I just wonder if you could take a moment to try and remember any of those negative patterns that your brain could fall into. So there are some of those 6 patterns that we learned about in the last assembly. And we also understand that our mind is not static or stable, that it can be retrained and reframed. And in order to do this, we looked at the ability to recognize stress and anxiety for what they are and how we experience it, and then learning about different ways to cope with them, such as reframing and positive thinking. So trying to stop yourself in the moment and recognize if this is your self-talk versus reality, and then if it is this self-negative talk, that we want to try and reframe it to be something more positive, and that if we approach things with a kind mindset, it can really improve our positivity. So today we want to look at the meditation and mindfulness meditation. And some of the history behind it is that it was originated in the 6th century BC with Buddhist monks. This is centuries before many of the world religions today, such as Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, but they all do have some integrated form of mindfulness in them. The aim was to reach a higher state of realization and be free from suffering. This was known as becoming more enlightened, and as Buddhists believe it, to get into their form of heaven or nirvana. It was introduced to the West in 1979 in its modern form of kind of a technique to deal with stress or illness by a man named Jon Kabat-Zinn. There he is, an image of him with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He was the one to first draw a link scientifically between mindfulness practices and medical benefits. So what exactly is mindfulness then? The former director of Oxford Mindfulness Centre said it was knowing directly what is going on inside and outside yourselves, moment by moment. That's on the NHS website. Jon Kabat-Zinn, the man you learnt about from the last slide, he also describes it as a moment-by-moment awareness of thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and your surrounding environment. So much more than just what's going on in your head, but actually being aware of the outside, and characterized by an acceptance and a non-judgment of whether something is right or wrong, which should make some sense to us, because we know that emotions, whether they are positive or negative, they're not necessarily right or wrong, they're all natural. And then finally, Yungi Mingyur Rinpoche talked about it as a continuation of awareness and recognizing your own awareness and sitting with it. And he said this was the essence of meditation. And this monk has been involved in many studies with Harvard University, MIT, around brain scans of people who meditate and are mindful continuously, and the benefits behind those. So some common misconceptions about mindfulness. One, that they can be only practiced by people who are spiritual or Buddhist, when in fact they can be practiced by many, many different faiths in the form of prayer, or they can have nothing to do with the faith at all, and they can just be used as a relaxation and a stress management tool. Also, the idea that you should be totally relaxed and not thinking whenever you're doing mindfulness practice. This is not true at all, as some people say it's trying to deal with your monkey mind and actually giving it a distraction so that you can relax and slow down. And this means that you could actually practice mindfulness anywhere. And sometimes the busier, the better, to help you deal with some of those more stressful moments in life. And finally, that people who practice mindfulness never experience anxiety or never lose control of their minds. This is not true at all. It's just one of the many tools that we can help to manage ourselves the same way as we train our muscles. If we get into the habit, it's much, much easier, but we're still tired after a session, or we may not want to exercise every day. And if we give it up for a while, it's much more difficult to get back into it. So the idea is that we don't get rid of our negative emotions or thoughts, but just that maybe we can help manage them and understand them a bit better. So there have been thousands and thousands of studies, particularly since the 2000s, around the benefits of mindfulness and their positive impacts on mental and physical health, whether it's reducing stress, improving sleep, improving your focus, or your relationships. There is a lot of ways that it's been shown that mindfulness has really helped. It can help with sleep, it can help with some pain and diseases, and just in general help your physical and mental well-being. So some of the results from the research that have been done so far is that just 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation training improved people's reaction times and accuracy scores on computer-based attainment tests. Also enhancing thinking and memory are two benefits that have been recorded on many of these researches. That the practice can help you better recognize and understand your own emotions and let go of them rather than becoming tangled up in them and overthinking, much like what we learned about negative framing in the previous assembly, that getting caught in this constant worry or overthinking can lead to anxiety and help and hinder you engaging in your day-to-day activities. There's been research around chronic pain or symptoms such as irritable bowel or inflammatory bowel diseases and many other chronic pain diseases where people have recorded being able to manage them better. And finally, on research done on brain scans of people who meditate frequently, it was found that they had a decreased sense of separation between themselves and their environment, and they experienced a deep harmony between themselves and their surroundings, which they likened to feeling very, very relaxed and calm. So the science behind mindfulness then, some of the results from these brain scans we can actually see in these images, and it's where we see after a session people have heightened awareness because other parts of their brains, which are usually very busy and take up a lot of our mental capacity, are actually much quieter, and this is related to the feeling more relaxed. It also appears that those who practice mindfulness can manage pain better, not necessarily that they don't feel it as much as others, but actually what they can manage is the negative feelings and the fear around feeling pain. Hence, they don't have as bad a reaction to feeling uncomfortable or in that pain. There were studies, this is an image of just a person resting in pain, and that part of their brain is lit up quite a bit. So the pain regulators are more managed when people are able to practice mindfulness. Then also people who had post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is a stress disorder brought on by a significantly traumatic experience. So in this case, refugees were measured after and before, were measured when they did and did not do mindfulness practice. And you can see there in the blue, the people who did practice mindfulness over a period of consistent days, they found a significant decrease in their post-traumatic stress disorder scores. And so just finally then, some types of meditation, mindfulness meditation. There are many, many. You can have movement like yoga or even running or walking. You can have guided meditation where it takes you through a body scan and you relax every part of your body. Some people like to focus on sounds or visual, and some can just focus on breathing in and out and focusing on counting their breaths to give their monkey mind something to do. Next week's assemblies will go into more of these strategies for dealing with poor mental health, such as diet, breathing techniques, mindfulness techniques, exercise, and sleep. And as usual, we have these slides on the bottom if you'd like to seek any further assistance.